Roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilor Garrell,
Here.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Here.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Here.
Councilor Spradlin, Councilor Strau,
Here.
Councilor Tyree.
Here.
Everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add or change on the agenda? I'd look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I approve.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councilor Strau,
Yes.
Councilor Garrell,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any corrections or additions? I'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Strau,
Yes.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Garrell,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, we have visitors and delegations. First, we have citizens' comments. Citizens are invited to speak to council on any item that does not have a public hearing scheduled. There's a 5-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the mayor. Does anybody want to speak to council? Nope. Okay. Management, we have our first reading of ordinance 896-22. Chief Boss and Dan Krob will give a report.
Thank you much. This is just to amend our existing ordinance to add the schools so that we can cover vape pens, and then also to update all the ages from 18 to 21 so that we coincide with federal and state law. So I think that's pretty much it. Happy to answer questions.
That's cut and dry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd look for a counselor to introduce this ordinance by title.
I would move to introduce ordinance number 896-22, ordinance to amend City Code Section 10-2-50, adding schools to prohibiting vaping pens. For prohibiting vaping pens.
So I need a motion to approve on first reading
So moved.
And publish.
and publish?
And publish. How about I'll try that again. I move to approve upon first reading and published ordinance number 896-22. Do you need the rest of it?
Nope.
Okay.
And a
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Garrell,
Yes.
Councilor Strau,
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, we have the first reading of ordinance number 898-22. Monty Torres has a report for that one.
Okay, this is the ordinance approving the lease to certain real estate owned by the city of Brush to Colorado Parks and Wildlife for the term of 3 years. This ordinance is the first step in moving forward with extending out their lease. Their lease agreement, we had it for 5 years in the past, and it's for Colorado Parks and Wildlife to have their, I believe it's a regional office located out by the Brush Agri Park, just north of town, and that lease has expired, and so they're on a 2 or 3 month extension right now, and they're asking for it to be extended for 3 years until they can look at putting a long-term facility in, a stick-built facility somewhere in the Brush area. And so we've been working with them for a while on that, and we hope that that works out well for us and keep that office here. And so staff is good with the 3-year extension.
Very good. I would look for a counselor to introduce by title.
Move we approve ordinance number 898-22, an ordinance approving the leases of certain real estate owned by the city of Brush to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife for the term of 3 years.
So that was an introduction.
Oh,
That's okay. I have a cheat sheet. Now, we just need a motion to approve on first reading and publish.
I would move we approve ordinance 898-22 on first reading and publish. Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Tyree,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, we have resolution number 2022-9, a resolution amending the fees for wastewater treatment. I think Del Cloric has a report for us, since Joanne is not here.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. As we discussed at last meeting's work session, inflation is starting to really uptick quite a bit, and we try to keep our wastewater fees increasing every year so we don't have great, big, giant leaps whenever we do have to increase them. They're small and incremental. And so with inflation increasing the way it is, plus the potential for some pretty serious regulatory requirements coming up here within the next several years, we feel it's prudent that we raise our wastewater rates to kind of keep up with inflation, and also try to put together a bit of a healthy reserve so when it does come time to do this construction and modifications to our facility, we don't have to take out a very large debt service. Debt service is one of the bigger chunks of your wastewater fee, so we want to keep a lid on those things. So with that, I will be glad to answer any questions.
The increase is 7% a year for the next 3 years.
Correct. Well, right, it's 7% this year, and then it's going to be cost of living, the Denver Boulder CPI plus an additional 3%. So typically that runs around that 7% a year. And we realize that this is a very tough time for a lot of people. We get that. But regulators don't care. When CDPHE says you have to do something, you have to do it. So.
Didn't we talk about keeping it at a flat?
7, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Didn't we decide just to do 7%?
Was it 7 flat? 7?
Yeah, because we were gonna,
Then if the Denver Boulder was way high, it wouldn't just,
As
we
we can-
just keep
yeah,
it,
yes.
we will, yeah, we'll.
keep
Okay.
it steady.
So, I missed that part.
That's okay. Nobody told you our secret.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. I would look for a motion to approve that one, or not?
So moved.
And can you read the whole thing? Not read the whole thing, just resolution number 20.
Resolution 2022-9, a resolution amending the water fees for wastewater treatment.
And a second.
Second?
Discussion?
Actually, real quick. So like, last year we did something similar. I forget which we raised, but something. And we got a lot of backlash, even though we tried to communicate and everything. So I think, again, it's vital. We communicate, we be proactive and tell people why, be transparent. So it doesn't seem like we're just, gotcha. So we need to make sure we're doing that, I think, because, yeah.
Yes.
That's all.
Yep, I agree. Anything else? Roll call vote.
Counselor Stroud,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Counselor Tyree,
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, we have proclamation number 2022-1, a proclamation affirming April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Scott Klinkhammer will read this proclamation.
Yes, so Colorado children are our most precious resource. Whereas children are key to the state's future success, prosperity, and the quality of life, while children are our most precious resource, they are also our most vulnerable. Whereas children have the right to thrive, learn, and grow to their full potential, and whereas the prevention of child abuse and neglect strengthens Colorado's families and communities and ensures the opportunity for children to develop in healthy, trusting families, schools, and neighborhoods, and where that builds the foundation of society. And whereas we must come together as partners to keep children safe. ensure that the voices of our children are heard by all, and extend a helping hand to children. And whereas each of us play a role in the prevention of child abuse and neglect, we encourage anyone concerned about the safety and well-being to report to 1-844-CO-4-KIDS. Whereas I call upon all community members to provide safe, stable, and nurturing relationships and environments for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, and we can ensure that Colorado's children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this community, state, and nation. And do I have to read that last one? And therefore, as the mayor of the city of Brush, I do hereby proclaim April 2022 Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Thank you. I would look for a motion to approve that proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Counselor Tyree.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell.
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Stroud.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next we have proclamation number 2022-2, a proclamation affirming April 29th Arbor Day in Brush, Colorado. Councilor Garrell is going to read this one.
Proclamation 2022-2, a proclamation affirming April 29th Arbor Day in Brush, Colorado. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas Brush has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Therefore, on behalf of the Brush City Council, Dana Sherman as mayor does hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city of Brush, and urges all citizens to support the efforts to care for our city's community forestry program, and further urges all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Approved and adopted this 11th day of April 2022.
Thank you. I'd like for a motion to approve this proclamation.
I would move we approve proclamation number 2022-2.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Stroud.
Yes.
Counselor Tyree.
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell.
Before I give my vote, just real quick, I would just like to say I look forward to this day and planting trees with the kids in our community like we did last year, so I absolutely approve.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, number 7, we have finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll of March 28th, 2022, April 11th, 2022, totaling $593,669.54.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Tyree.
Yes.
Counselor Stroud.
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Counselor Garrell.
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Next, we have staff reports. Rick Kroglian, Assistant City Administrator, Community Development Director.
You will not make the mayor cry today.
Okay. How dare you?
Well, many of you know this is my last night. 2 years ago, I came in and rode on a major high because the city of Brush was my first city ever that wanted to hire me as an assistant. And some of you guys know this, some of you don't, but 300 cities also rejected me. And I never gave up on that. And you guys believed in me. I believed it, but to try to convince another city to give me a chance was unbelievable. And still never forget Loranda saying, "Are you sure you realize that brush is not in the mountains?" And so I just can't tell you how thankful I am for having your trust to serve as the assistant administrator and community development director. I have thoroughly enjoyed serving Monty, and he's been the best boss I've ever had. He's given me freedom to thrive, to be creative, to build relationships in our community with our stakeholders, our community members. And I just can't tell you how thankful I am. You guys have been a joy to work with, every one of you. I'm thankful for the memories that we have, for the long talks, shots, and fun things that we've all done. And I'm going to miss this place greatly. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come and serve. So this will be a bye for now to see what would happen in the future. So Lorinda, it's a great theme and I love it, and I'm going to hold on to that. And chickens are great. You should guys consider them in the future.
I'll let it slide since it's your last night. Larry's not off the hook, though.
So, but I leave tomorrow. I will stay here as much as I can, but I've got to be up by Georgetown tomorrow for their council meeting. And it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so I'm already getting ready to say more snow. So how do I convince my wife to do this? But do you have any questions for me?
Just a thank you
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
for everything you've done, man. And I
And-
hope you're attacked by a chicken someday. I genuinely do.
And the feedback I've got around town in the last couple of weeks has been phenomenal. Like, people can't thank you enough for everything you've done.
Yeah.
I definitely want to say thank you, Rick, for everything that you have done, for being so kind and so gracious in the face of adversity, even when people don't agree with you, enforcing city code and regulations. And I really have appreciated what you have done in getting everything up to par in the way that it should be. And it has been fantastic and a joy to work with you. And I know you'll be back.
If
Thank you,
not,
sir.
we all know where we live, right?
I've already gotten you like 6 times now.
Yeah.
We'll save you.
I
But thank
know.
you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know how I
I
feel.
know.
Yeah. Do you have any update on anything you're working on?
So yeah, I'm trying to.
You want to finish your job while you're right there?
I
you
told
pass
all
the
my
buck.
developers to come join me in Georgetown. And so our housing is shifting right now.
Poor
That's a joke,
Shane.
okay? It's a joke. No, I've been trying to wrap up, trying to have meetings with my developers, with projects to make sure that we're not going to end. We're going to continue this and try to stay involved as much as I can. Monty and I will meet tomorrow to try to wrap up a type of contract so that I can still come back and help. Georgetown is aware of it as well, and they don't want to end in bad relationship either. They want to make sure that we can, serve to a point until we can find somebody else, or however Monty decides how to do that. So, yeah, we're trying to wrap these things up today.
Perfect.
We finally wrote a letter that Monty's going to review again to the school, and that's just to wrap up all of our discussions of how we've been doing. We've been meeting with them, and they still have not agreed to reconstruct the road for the South Beat Digger Drive like we've asked. And so we're sending a formal letter saying we're rejecting your concepts, and you have 30 days to comply. If you don't, then we're going to go ahead and bring the city council and the board together to have a meeting to disclose. I don't think the school board really realizes that there's violations. I think a couple of them have heard, but they've been also secluded so that they're not hearing everything. So I think maybe that's the next step, is to bring them, to disclose to them how big this is, and it's not a small thing to just kick the can. So that's what we're working on. I tried to reach out to Colorado Land Processing to get that last discussion. They are completely aware that they still owe the plan investment fee of $294,000, I think it was. And then we would write a check for $100,000, $141,000. And then there's $61,000 that's left over to be reimbursed once they finished everything. But we also have a letter of credit to make sure that we can pull from if they don't finish everything by July this summer. So we can pull, if we do pull, then they will not be reimbursed of their $61,000. That's their incentive to get everything done. So they're aware of it, they're not happy. We still need to have a meeting to close that, which Monty's aware of that. But that's about it. I have my cell phone, it will still say the same, so if you ever have questions, you can call me.
Yeah, if you change your number, we're gonna have big
We'll have
problems.
some issues.
And we'll
Great.
still see you at conference.
Yes, you will see me at conference,
Okay.
definitely. And thank you, staff, too. I mean, it's been a joy to work hand in hand with you guys. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. It's your turn. Derek Boss, Chief of Police.
Good evening. First, thank you very much for the proclamation for Child Abuse Awareness. Two other things I want to bring to light that are this month. This week is National Telecommunicators Week. That's really intelligent level speak for 911 call takers and dispatch. So just a big shout out to them. They work hard, and without them, we couldn't do our job. And then the second thing, April is also Autism Awareness Month. So just want to bring that up as well. A couple other things. We began a joint citizens academy with Morgan County Sheriff's Office and Fort Morgan Police Department that started roughly 2 weeks ago. This week we're hosting here on Wednesday night, and then we host again in early May. From what I hear, that's going very well, but just wanted to bring that up. I was accepted into what's called the FBI National Command Course School, which is a week-long school. They only accept 35 police chiefs or sheriffs per year into that, and that is by invite only. So I'm excited to go to that, and I get to go the first week of May.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, thank you. And then the last thing, if Rick wouldn't have brought up cats, I would have. You all have a letter addressing feral cats, and this is the new chicken topic for us. Anyway, I want to hit a couple things. There should be a letter at your place that I wrote in response to a handwritten letter, and then I've received several emails over the weekend. First and foremost, I don't want to dive into this too deep because there is a criminal case attached to this topic, and so there's a lot of specifics I can't get into. But the big thing, there's a rumor going around that we just collect stray cats and euthanize them left and right. That's not true. We don't do that. In your letter, I outline the 4 situations where we do euthanize animals, and I don't see us changing those policies, but in short, if they're very sick or injured animals, we do put them down. We do put animals down by court order, and then if it's an immediate life safety issue for a person, we would probably intervene and put an animal down. So we don't collect cats and just euthanize them. In all of last year, we only euthanized 2 animals total through the shelter, and both of those were circumstances where it was very necessary because of the health of the animals. All that's addressed in this letter. Again, not going into the finer details, but we do have ordinances that prohibit feeding animals that are not owned and or not vaccinated. That's one of the big issues at stake here, and this is a health issue for the community, not just for 1 or 2 animals, but if we have a sick animal, that carries disease to other animals, to people, et cetera. So there's bigger issues at stake here than just the welfare of 1 or 2 cats. And then the last thing I'd like to bring up is, I don't think this will be the end. There's a lot of push and pull back and forth on this topic, so I just want to prepare you for that. But please read my letter, and then next time we meet, if you have questions, I'm happy to address those. So, that's all I
Thank you.
have.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you going to be learning at the school you're going to?
I have no idea.
It's a secret?
It is a secret.
You did say FBI.
He did.
I did say FBI.
Told us he'd have to kill us.
It is. It is very focused on leadership for small agencies. But
Awesome.
beyond that, I do not know.
Hey, that's enough. That's what I was looking for.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lance Schwint, Director of Community Services.
Yeah, haven't seen everybody in a long time, so, sorry about that too. Just got a kid graduating and I'm chasing him around, and it seems like everything he has is scheduled on Monday nights, so, I'll be here a lot more from here on out, so. Speaking of which, we have 3 new hires that I wanted to introduce to you, and I'll probably bring them to a future council meeting, but within the last year, we lost our cemetery crew leader, our parks crew leader, and then the head of Parks and Cemetery, the overall guy. And so we've hired Greg Mayers, Corey Getman, and Eric Simmons. So as you guys see them going around, they're learning right now. It's the busiest time of year, and so they're kind of getting thrown out into the fire, but they're doing a really good job. Greg cares a lot about the community, and he's the one who kind of is the new Dwight, and he's spending a lot of hours learning all the new sprinkler systems and everything else, and he assures us that the cemetery and the parks are gonna look great this year, so they're really working hard. Speaking of other things going on, the golf course, we had our first golf tournament this past weekend. We had 42 participants, which was, we put it on the right day, because it wasn't windy. This next Saturday night, we will have trivia night out at the golf course too. Following trivia night, we will be doing a little bit of karaoke too, so put that on your calendars, and that started about 7 o'clock. We've ordered our pizza oven, and so we should be having pizza here in the next 3 weeks, I would say. So that should be done. We've also are getting bids on updating the bathrooms in the facility, and just doing some other small upgrades around the kitchen area and that sort of thing. The greens mower also is one of the purchases that we have this week. That should be coming in this week, and I just wanted you to be aware that that will be coming in. And the reason I mention that is that all the donations that are happening this year comes from the Joslyn Needham and Jack Pettis Foundation, administered by the Farmer State Bank. So without that, we wouldn't have a lot of the new stuff that we have out there at the golf course or at our parks or anything like that. So in the recreation world, we started our Girls Fast Pitch right now. We have about 100 kids out for Girls Fast Pitch. They're having to practice behind Beaver Valley because we only have 2 ball fields, and we have 200 youth baseball kids playing also. So we have 300 kids trying to utilize just 2 fields, and so field space is tough. It's something that we've been dealing with for several years, and we're hoping that we're able to, with the school district, and be able to build at least some grass area over there at the middle school to at least alleviate some of the practice problems that we have down the road. Like you heard, there's Arbor Day on the 29th. And so just going along with that, the city is also going to be planting 52 trees within our cemeteries and parks during that time. So over the next couple of weeks, a bunch of trees will be going in at all of our parks and cemetery and stuff. Arbor Day it's kind of a special time for brush, and Bruce Bosley and Rick have done a great job of getting everything organized, and it should be a great event. Looking further ahead, in June, the June 25th will be our 40th annual Brush Rush. We've already started requesting donations and started advertising for that. So that'll be our 40th annual, which is the longest road race in Northeast Colorado and everything. So we're doing a big pancake breakfast and all that sort of thing that Saturday for the race. And so that should be a good time. And one thing we just did get booked this last week was a community trip that will head out November 27th through December 3rd, and that'll go to Branson. It's $810, and it includes your transportation, your hotels, I think 7 shows and 10 meals. So it's really good price. And then finally, Laura McConnell and I have been working with the school district. We've been talking about the gap that will be left with a 4-day school week. There will be 1 day there and different ideas that we can come up with activities and stuff on that off day. And so we have another meeting scheduled for Thursday, and we're coming up with a questionnaire that we can send out to parents and everything else on what they would like to see letting them know that these activities would come at a cost unless there's some magical donation and everything like that. So we are trying to put something together so that there's something for the kids to do on that off day. So, any questions for me? Anything I can address?
Can I just kind of firm a couple dates, because I was listening and you kind of went so
Mhm.
fast. Trivia is this Saturday,
April
Easter weekend,
16th, yep. Saturday night,
and the brush rush?
June 25th.
Okay, I got it now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I was gonna ask that same thing, cause I wasn't sure if you said June 5th or June 25th.
June 25th, yes.
And the Branson trip looks awesome. I
Yeah.
wish I didn't have to work for a living, I would
Yeah.
just go do that,
It is,
but,
it's right around the holidays, so just,
yeah,
Yeah.
gonna be out of vacation time.
it'll be good. We went there last time too. It's around they have Branson lit up really nice around the holidays and stuff, so it's a pretty fun time, so.
Cool.
Any other questions or anything? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lance. Loranda Beckard, City Clerk.
The only thing to bring up is the training tomorrow night. Starts at 6. It will be in here and supper is provided.
I skipped Dale. Like, sorry, Dale. I thought you were looking around for Loranda.
I wasn't
like,
going anywhere. And you
Dale
know,
Colrick, Director of Public Works.
that exclamation point on the backside of brush means you'll be back. Okay, just a couple items. We did attend, as well as Councilor Gurel, the Green Drinks meeting that we had at the block in Fort Morgan. I won't go too far into it, so as not to steal your thunder. However, we did have a couple presentations, and I'll leave it at that. In addition to another Green Drinks, I believe, on Earth Day, the 21st, still at the block, same time, which was 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
I think so. Plan on eating dinner if you plan on attending.
Yes. And in addition to that, April 21 being Earth Day, Pete Cisneros at East Morgan County Hospital is going to be putting out a table in the cafe area with a bunch of flyers and recycle information as well. And so everybody's encouraged to attend and come visit, have a cup of coffee and grab a flyer or whatever you do.
Dale, truly, if you want to speak about the green drinks, I think you could probably do so better than I.
Okay. Yeah, the meeting, we had a couple of speakers. One was Cass Uris, who was from the landfill, and he just gave us a rundown of recycling and how it's working out at the landfill and some of the restrictions that he has in being able to move the recyclable products. And it was good to have that background knowledge on what's going on. And another speaker was from Boulder County. She was with Momentum Recycling, I believe, and they deal mostly with glass and such. But up in Boulder County, they have much more recycling than what we do here with the glass. And so it was just good to reach out and network with people that are doing this, and they're great resources that we can utilize throughout trying to get things cleaned up just a little bit better over here.
I felt that the evening was a lot about learning what we are capable of here in the county and what resources we have and maybe what we don't. And that's why I believe they want to have monthly meetings is so that they can progress forward and hopefully implement some changes to be more proactive when it comes to recycling and making better choices. I believe one topic that is hopefully going to be coming up soon is composting and how to encourage that more.
Okay, yeah. So, next item I'd like to bring up is, just got news Friday, and I don't have it with me, but it would appear that CDOT has a very excellent opportunity to finish up Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the I-76 project. Phase 4 is that section that was not completed over by the intersection of Highway 6 and I-76. And they went through last year, and a couple years, or it was the year before, and they milled it down and they did some asphalting over the top of it because maintenance couldn't keep up with it. That was a throwaway job, and it appears that there is some infrastructure money that they're going to be able to come into to do the Phase 4, and then Phase 5 is that section over here by the main exit in Fort Morgan, as well as Barlow Road, that whole section, how it's not been completed or finished either. So they're looking close to about $100 million potentially worth of money that they can receive in order to complete these projects. And with that, CDOT would be asking us to provide a letter of support for these projects. Now granted, Phase 4 is not within the city of Brush itself. However, it does present some positives for the community. For example, it'll be a short-term economic activity for our area, and so that's always welcomed. But probably the most important, the very most important part of this is that those bridges that on the interstate that go over the railroad track and over the Beaver Creek, those will also be replaced, and that whole bridge area will be reconstructed, which is one of the 5 choke points we have for a floodplain here in the city of Brush. So they have studied this floodplain very seriously, and I believe they've got their designs down that this will take one of those 5 choke points out of the Beaver Creek floodplain for us. And so it's not a complete solution for our floodplain, but it's a step in the right direction. And so with that, I would just ask council to authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support when it becomes available from CDOT. This is very fast tracking, and they need to get something put together hopefully by the middle of next week, if not the middle of May, I think is their deadline. But they have to go back to Washington DC to get this money. This is not going to the Transportation Commission. This goes back to Washington DC.
I was gonna mention that it's a letter of support. It doesn't have any funds attached to it. So we are allowed to not really have to bring it to council, and the mayor can do letters like that.
Right. I didn't get that far, but glad you brought it up because that was in the next book.
Just out of curiosity on that, are they redesigning 76 and 6, that overpass? I mean, that's
Yes.
one of the most dangerous on-ramps going westbound.
We've had, and myself personally have had a lot of good discussions with Lou Keen, the Region 4 engineer, as well as one of his engineers, Ben, who is a gentleman who has been looking at redesigning all that. And NECOG, myself, and CDOT has had quite a few different discussions about some of the dangers that are there. So we're very, very optimistic about some of the improved safety enhancements that they're going to do. I mean, there's line of sight issues, and that's probably one of the biggest ones. Plus, there's no deceleration lanes or acceleration lanes there, and so that also presents challenges when semis that are fully loaded down with like hay bales or something like that tries to pull out. They just can't get up
I
to
was just
speed right
curious. I
away.
know we can't control it or anything, but I mean, it is so, so dangerous. I will go around to avoid coming onto that westbound on-ramp.
Mhm.
Because it's just, and I drive a fast car, and I will still avoid it.
Yes,
It's just so dangerous.
there are some improvements to
I'm
that whole
excited.
thing.
That's
Yes.
great. I'm happy to hear it.
Okay, and with that, I'll entertain any questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
And were you done? Okay. Dan Krubb, City Attorney.
I don't have anything unless you have questions for me.
All right, Monty Torres.
Okay,
City
just
Attorney.
a few items. The first one is in regards to the watershed ordinance. I think all the council members are aware that the first reading already occurred. The second reading and the actual hearing, that's slated for our next council meeting. And so that's moving along. The one thing that Loranda had mentioned in a previous email, that we're gonna be looking for a date to do a little bit of the homework we talked about at the last meeting, and that's a field trip. And we're gonna try and couple that with just a little bit of education on the actual Brush Prairie Ponds area, just to understand our recharge system there. And then go into where our well fields are located. And then the other step, we haven't worked the final details, but we wanna go down south a little ways and pop in a little further south on that watershed protection area. And so Loranda this week is gonna be sending out potential dates, and so watch for that email, and then we'll get that field trip set up. And we realize that different folks have different jobs, times that they can get away, so we might have to break that into a couple, 3 different iterations to go out there. Also depends on some of the property owners, because we need to contact the property owners as well, ensure that's gonna work for them also. Other thing I wanted to mention is, we've gotten a few calls about tumbleweeds in town because of the winds, and just want to remind the council that unless it causes a public safety issue for us, the city crews don't really touch the tumbleweeds. if they go into a right-of-way, like an alley that's truly blocking it and crews need to go through, we'll take equipment over there and move the tumbleweeds. But most of the times, most owners, I'm gonna say almost all the time, homeowners take care of their own tumbleweeds. And it'd be hard for the city to go out and take care of everyone's tumbleweeds. But just wanted to remind council of that. That's how we take care of those in these windy times. Okay. Other thing is, Rick Ray talked about working on his transition out, and we've got quite a few projects that he's been working on, but I think we've got them all pretty much covered at this point. One quick meeting tomorrow, then we'll move on from there. County Road S, the house that we have on Road S, that's was bought with one of the farms that we purchased years ago. It's fully remodeled now on the inside. We still have the outside siding and gutters to do. And then Lance's crew, along with, I think, maybe our street department, they're gonna be putting in a yard and a fence around it. And we've been earmarking that for a law enforcement officer to come in to see if any of them need a place to stay. No takers yet, but if we don't end up getting someone in there soon, we probably should get that rented out to some employee of the city that needs a place to stay, because others are needing places to stay, short-term and long-term. So we're almost done with that project. The city council approved the staff to put a bid in some water shares, and so we did get confirmation through a text that we were the highest bidder, and there should be some paperwork coming through to the city to make that purchase of those water shares final, and I imagine that'll take another week or so. So we're waiting on that. And one other thing I wanted to mention was the RV project. We're gonna visit with Dan Kropp here this week and talk a little bit more about the ordinance or the development agreement that we need for an RV park. And we've had a few little things that came up recently, more information that is making us pull back the reins a little bit and get some more legal advice before we proceed with that project. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Mayor and council reports. Does anybody have anything to share?
Yeah, but
You sure? Okay. Chief kind of beat me to it, but I did also want to recognize our dispatchers for National Dispatchers Week in Telecommunications. I feel like they play a vital role in keeping our community safe and going, and it is not an easy job. I interviewed for it, and I made it all the way to the last step, and I'm actually grateful I didn't get it, because that takes a unique person. Also, April 3rd through 9th was National Library Week. Also, really vital, important part of our community is our library system. And I believe that is integral to our kids' education, because it's a supplemental piece, if you will, in helping them in more ways than one. They get to do arts and crafts, and they get to participate. My kid was in their book club, and he got to do an escape room. So it's fun and it's engaging, and I encourage everyone to be going to our library and seeing what they have to offer, because they have great adult programs as well. And I thank our librarians for putting all of that together, because it is not easy. And then lastly, as for going back to the recycling with the green drinks, I said this at the meeting as well, a lot of education. You cannot be successful at recycling and as a community without a great deal of education. So what that looks like, I'm sure time will tell, but I look forward to it, and I hope that we're gonna have great progress with that. So that's all I have.
So the week before last, they had the firefighters had their new engine ceremony. It was really cool. I ended up talking to a few of them about the truck and trailer they were wanting. Now, Chief had openly told me that he didn't describe it very well the first time, so I'd like to have that conversation again sometime, maybe with the rural board, where we get together and see if we can come to some kind of middle ground on doing that for them, because, and Chief openly admitted that, when he described it, he didn't do a very good job of what they really needed it for. So if we could rehash that conversation, or kind of warm it back up and see if we can figure something out, you know what I mean? Because they really want it. They think they can, it's going to be valuable to them. Like if they have to go out of town for the fires up in the mountains or whatever, they need trucks for stuff like that. So that's one thing. Second thing I want to talk about is Lance, you brought up a bunch of stuff coming up at the golf course, and Lance and I have been working together, and we're going to bring comedy night back to Brush, Colorado. Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. But the difference this time is all the profits are going to go to a Brush charity. So that's going to be kind of our thing, right? But you guys get the bar, right? And that's what we're going to.
Yeah.
But we're gonna pick a charity every time. The first one's going to be the Chamber of Commerce, just to see, make sure it works, you know. So that's coming up, you know. Matt Gordon, you know what I mean? He gets his
I think
finger in.
it'll work, Larry. I don't think you need to be concerned.
Well, we ran
We're looking at October as the first one.
October, then we'll do one in December, then one in February. We're gonna start off slow and see. It's a small room, so it'll be, tickets should
We're
go,
gonna do 2 nights, do a Friday night.
yeah,
and a
Friday and Saturday night. So they'll be all in Brush, Colorado for now, so.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah,
That's
it'll be
great.
fun, so we'll see how that goes, so. And then lastly, I don't know, the tennis thing, you wanna,
Yeah, we can bring it up. I was gonna bring it up at the work session too, but,
okay,
yeah,
we just wanna do it then.
go ahead.
So, Marlene Griffin and Dana and I sat down with the superintendent about making a few more tennis courts for the kids, because there's a bunch of sophomore girls who have taken it upon themselves to compete at tennis, and they want a nicer place to do that, and so maybe we can have tournaments or whatnot come to Brush, Colorado. And, because the one we have right now, it's not for,
It's
it
not-
needs resurfaced.
It's a high school, the high school now has a tennis team.
You gotta have
which
4
they have.
courts.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually
Yep.
supposed to meet, and that one only has 2, and then underneath the foundation is kind of
Mm-hmm.
falling away, and that's why we put the tiles on at that
Mm-hmm.
point, because there really wasn't a competitive team or anything at the.
At that
in the
time.
city.
Right, so. that's
Marlene's all excited about doing some fundraising to see what we can do to get the kids a court,
Right.
so.
Right.
What would be the proposed location?
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about at our work session.
Oh, okay.
Larry's big mouth, the words.
You were just excited.
We had a few ideas, so, but yeah, we gotta find a place that, you know, Bill Wilson is all in, you know, he suggested a spot that the school district owns. He couldn't really promise it because it was just him, but,
Right.
but it seemed like a viable option. And then I had another option, but we just have to look at, who owns the property.
I did reach out, when I talked to their coach, that, Mr. Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
because we were trying to see what we could do underneath there, and I reached out to Fort Morgan, to Doak Duke, who was their parks superintendent, and, an Evergreen, tennis company who does, construction of tennis courts, said that he would come out and take a look at, what we have currently,
Mm-hmm.
and anything else as far as it goes with tennis, and kind of give us an idea of what we'd be looking at.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, because Bill even said, you know, we could resurface those and do another 2 at another location if we needed to, just to set that. But anyway, but yeah, so let's, I think we're gonna get that ball rolling and see what we can get done for the kids, and I think that would be kind of exciting. Yeah.
That's it for me.
Anybody else? If anybody sees Kevin's signs flying around.
Poor Kevin.
It's so expensive.
Uh-huh.
One other thing I forgot, Kristen from MCEDC has asked, since I will be leaving, that I was a board member for MCEDC, and she wants to know if we could have a replacement.
So we need somebody to sit on that board from the city.
So
Okay.
it's really important that we find an appropriate person that can be a good representative from council to staff to our community.
Does it have to be a staff member, or can it be
I don't know if it
Council
was,
member.
I don't think that matters which one it is.
just somebody representing the city?
We'll clarify that, and then we'll see if any council members, if it can be a
I would
council
be
member.
interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great,
I used to sit on that board. I love that board.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I talked to her today, this
Did you?
morning for a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was phenomenal what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
I think you do great at it.
Thank you.
I don't think I have anything else. So, if nobody has anything else, I will adjourn this meeting so we can move into work.